First, I'd like to talk about our registration and payment deadline. That will be February 26th, a week from this coming Friday. If you have not received the payment or registration link, please let me know after meeting. I'll take your email down and ensure that you get it. We are now accepting online payment, which is much easier for all of us. So please take advantage of that resource. Secondly, now that the ERP SIM competition is done, our focus is we're starting to direct towards the spring trip. We'll be heading down to Nashville on the 31st of March and the 1st of April to visit the A.O. Smith in Louisiana Pacific. If you are interested in going on this trip, Dr. A has asked that you complete a cover letter detailing why you are interested in going on this trip. Identify activities that you have demonstrated good leadership, communication skills, professionalism, and more. Discuss the ERP SIM competition if you are involved. And attach this cover letter with all the reasons that you believe you should attend this trip to your resume and submit it to Dr. A's office, which is Grand 320A. The deadline for the applications will be February 29th. So if you have any questions around the trip or anything like that, please do not hesitate to contact myself or any of the members of the executive board. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Marathon to the stage. With us today, we have Rashad, recruiter in the back there. We have Larry, security analyst, Melissa, an SAP domain architect, and Kevin, an IT supervisor. Let's give them a big warm up on the stage.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Hopefully everyone got enough pizza. I think there's more left. They're all closed, so I'm not sure. But I just wanted to take some time tonight and run through, give you a quick overview of Marathon, kind of the business side of it. I'll cover that, and then turn it over to Melissa to cover more of the IT specific items. And then we'll be hanging around afterwards, and if you brought your resumes along, we're definitely going to be checking those out, looking for intern candidates for the summer and fall, and even into 2017 already as well. So feel free, please stick around and reach out to us if you have questions after or during the presentation. Please don't hesitate, raise your hand, interject. I may be looking at the screen, so feel free to speak up as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. First slide is, or second slide is really more of a legal item for us. We have to make sure that that's included as a forward-looking statement. So I'm not going to run through it. It's really covering Marathon, MPLX, and Mark West. Agenda for tonight, I think we've already kind of gone through the introductions. Like I said, we'll give a quick overview of Marathon as a company, IT services at Marathon, kind of our recruiting here. Again, we're new to Central Michigan, really, so looking for some feedback as well. And then, again, questions, feel free to interject anytime during the presentation. So Marathon's been around for more than 125 years at this point. We've changed names along the way. Originally started as the Ohio Oil Company, and there were some mergers and divestitures and things of that nature along the way. Fourth largest refiner in the U.S., largest in the Midwest. Industry leader, consistently a top performer. High safety culture as well. The last bullet, definitely focused on profitable growth. We're definitely trying to grow the company, not sustain. Some statistics, Fortune 25 company. Again, around for more than 125 years, originally established as the Ohio Oil Company in 1887. As I said, the fourth largest refiner in the U.S., largest in the Midwest. You can see some of our 2014 financials. 2015 financials are now out publicly, so feel free to check those out. They are better than those numbers. Employees, over 45,000, so that includes Marathon as well as Mark West and Speedway employees, so we'll touch a little bit more about Speedway later. Headquartered in Findlay, Ohio, so roughly 3.5 hours south of here. Kind of in between Toledo and Lima. That gives any perspective. Approximately 2,700 Speedway convenience stores, so that number's almost doubled since we completed the Hess acquisition. So you may recognize the Hess name, the green symbol. So we completed that acquisition. We've actually just recently completed the final store conversion. So that was roughly 1,200 stores that we've converted in approximately 2 years, I want to say. In addition to that, we have 5,600 brand retail locations. So there's a difference between Speedway and Marathon branded locations. Speedway are actually owned by Marathon. They're owned and operated by Marathon. They're not franchised, anything of that nature. The Marathon brand stores, really those are more contractual agreements where those gas stations are required to purchase Marathon branded gasoline. The actual convenience store side of things, sorry, 1 second, the convenience store side of things, you'll see that they may have the Marathon branded gas pumps, but the store may be some other name, okay? And that's the reason. That's the branded locations that we refer to. Question?
Was Speedway always a company of Marathon, or did you guys recently purchase them?
No, at least as far as I know, they've always been owned by Marathon.
Okay.
So it wasn't a recent acquisition. Now, the recent acquisition was really the purchase of the Hess stores through Speedway.
Cool. I was just curious.
Yeah, no, good question. In addition to the retail outlets, I'm sorry, I already covered that one. In addition to the retail outlets, we also have a pretty extensive terminal and pipeline network. So very integrated between the refineries, getting product into our refineries and then getting it back out to the retail customers. Nice slide here. So in 2015, we were voted Forbes #3 America's Best Employer. So definitely something to recognize there. Corporate values. So we are extremely high on our corporate values. Health and safety are #1 here, and I think everybody, the 4 of us here, would attest that safety is our #1 concern in the office, at the plants, out in the field, anywhere we go. Environmental stewardship. Definitely worried about what we put out into the atmosphere as an oil and gas company. We're always under the radar and under the microscope to make sure what we're putting into the environment, are we following all the rules and regulations, and we absolutely are. Integrity, it speaks for itself. Corporate citizenship, we're definitely heavily involved, specifically in the Findlay area, a very big United Way contributor. We do a lot of fundraising for the United Way as well as other organizations around the Findlay area. Our plants and other business units do things on their own as well, but as a whole, Marathon does a lot for the United Way. And then as well as our inclusive culture, so definitely a diverse company as well. So we talked about our integrated network. You can see here between our refineries, we have some biodiesel, renewable fuel type of plants, terminal pipelines. We have a marine organization as well. And I talked already about Speedway and our brand marketing locations. And the chart on the left kind of gives more of a picture of how integrated it really is. So you can see everything is already populated there, and where we're bringing product into, out of, the pipelines that are available to us, as well as the ships are obviously identifying our marine organizations. I spoke on safety. VPP is one of the certifications that we strive for every year. Okay, the Findlay office, I know I can speak to that one specifically. That it's a huge driver. There's a lot of focus on that. It's definitely something that we take very, very seriously. And you can see that our refineries are also making the effort too. So there's a lot of stringent activity and a ton of effort that goes into getting that certification from OSHA. And we're trying to get all of our refineries there, but it's a long process and a lot of work that goes into it. As well as, in addition to the Findlay office, we have some other office locations that are also VPP certified. So our strength in refining, obviously our bread and butter is our refining organization, and without them we wouldn't have any product to move, to sell, or anything. So we are the largest refinery east of the Mississippi, like I said, largest in the Midwest. Refining capacity, we're very well positioned. So if you think about some of the shale plays, if anyone's heard of the shale plays that are in the U.S., we are well positioned to take advantage of those. We have 7 plants in our system, 7 refineries in our system. The most recent was the Galveston Bay acquisition down in Texas, so it actually sits right beside our Texas City refinery. So there's a lot of synergies that we can gain there as well. The 4th bullet point is one definitely to hit on, the 70% assured sales. So for thinking back to what I talked about with our Speedway and our Marathon branded locations, we are able to refine just under 1.8 million barrels a day of oil. So that's a lot of product that we then have to move and put out into the consumer space. So given our large retail network, we know on any given day where we're going to go with approximately 70% of our gasoline production. The other 30% is left up to our marketing and SDP organizations to figure out who has the need and where they can sell it. And then the last bullet point, our margin enhancing projects. We're a margin business, so what it takes to refine a barrel of oil versus what we can sell it for is our profit. So the larger that span, the more money we can make. So we are based off of margins. Talked about the less than just under 1.8 million barrels a day. You can see the distribution of our capacity at our different refineries, the 7 that are shown here. You can see the grand scale there ranging anywhere from just under 540,000 barrels a day down to 86,000 barrels a day. So to put it in perspective, there are 42 gallons in 1 barrel. So I'll let you do the math. I'm not that quick on math tonight. So 42 times 1.8 million, and that's on a daily basis. We also have some interest in renewable fuels. So if you go to the gas pump, you'll see something around maybe up to 10% blended ethanol in the gas that you pump at any given station. That's where this comes into play. So we have an equity interest in a number of corn ethanol plants, and we're actually the owner of a biodiesel refinery in Cincinnati. Retail network, I've spoke on this quite a bit already. Talked about the Hess acquisition with Speedway, the 5,600 branded Marathon stations. Did not touch on the asphalt market. So one of the byproducts of refining is asphalt. So everything that we drive on the roads every day, right? That's primarily asphalt, and that lovely smell whenever they're putting new asphalt down. We like that smell. So. And the last bullet, quality supplier to the wholesale and secondary product markets. There's a lot of byproducts out of the refining process, so we work to sell those as well. So there are primary and secondary markets that support those sales. The last slide that I have is on our Speedy Rewards program, and it relates back to the Speedway branded, or the Speedway stations. So this is a very valuable program to Speedway. 4.5 million customers, and it's growing daily. I'm a Speedy Rewards customer as well, or a member as well, and I make sure I swipe my card every time I fill up. It's extremely successful. It starts to factor into some of the awards that Speedway has won along the way. They're definitely one of the top recognized convenience store chains in the country, and this is one of the aspects of it. So I spoke quick. Spoke fast. Any questions on Marathon from a business perspective as a whole? Rashad?
What do you do?
What do I do? I'm sorry. Focused on Marathon. So my team, I'm an IT supervisor. My team supports SAP, primarily SAP, okay? We support the plan to repair solution, all right? So the maintenance aspect of our refineries. My team supports roughly 8,000 users out in the field, including Speedway, okay? So all the, anything that happens in the store, if there's a hot dog machine that goes down, right, they're putting in a work order that's routed through SAP, and we schedule that work, and someone's out to fix it, okay? So that's primarily what my team does. In addition to the plan to repair solution, and hopefully I'm not jumping into Melissa's territory here, in addition to the plan to repair solution, we also have the procure to pay process, so procurement all the way down to payables. We have our budget to report, so financials, the FICO aspect of things. So the outside reporting, the external reporting, your 10Ks, as well as your general ledger reporting. That includes treasury as well, and the receivables aspect. We have our human capital management in SAP, so all of our HR processes, hiring, compensation aspects. And I'm trying to think what else. CLM, our contracts, all of our contracts are in SAP as well and managed and routed for approval to the vendors through SAP. So a little bit about what I do, what my team does, and then Marathon as a whole from an SAP perspective. Yes?
You spoke earlier about growth of the company and not sustaining it. How do you guys plan on growing the company?
How do we plan on growing the company?
Like, what is the plan?
Fair question, and I have to tread lightly on that one. So there are some synergies that we're working to gain, right? So I said, well, we've got two refineries that sit side by side, so there are some synergies that we can gain there. There are obviously projects that are always in the works that I don't know about. I wish I did, that'd be nice, but I'll be truthful. There's a lot of things that go on that we just don't have visibility to. We trust our executive management team that they're going to grow the company as we see, or as they see fit as well.
Talk about some of the acquisitions that have taken place through the years.
Sure. So I'll kind of go back to when I first started the company. So I've been with the company for 8 years, and shortly after I joined the company, we went through a company split. Okay, so we used to be an integrated company with Marathon Oil and Marathon Petroleum Company. So Marathon Oil was the upstream side of the company, so actually going out, drilling wells, pulling the oil out of the ground. We were the downstream organization, so taking that oil, refining it, transporting it, selling it, okay? So we went through that in 2011-ish. And then we spun off MPLX, which was, it's a master limited partnership. So for more of our transportation assets that we can spin off into a different publicly traded company. With that, we had we sold one of our refineries. We used to actually have a refinery up in St. Paul Park. It was a very small refinery. I think it was smaller than Canton at 86,000. I think it was roughly 50,000 barrels. So it was a much smaller refinery. Sold that. We then purchased Galveston Bay, which was the second largest refinery down in Texas, the one that I was speaking to that sits side by side. So we had to integrate that into our SAP environment from an HR perspective, from a payables perspective, setting up bank accounts, the list goes on. And then we recently just finished 2 major projects. We called them Frontier and Atlas. Atlas was to implement core financials and procure to pay. And then Frontier was the plant maintenance side of it. Okay, so that was a huge undertaking as well. I spoke about the Hess acquisition, so converting those roughly 1,200 stores into Speedway branded locations. We went through that. That added work for the SAP environment. What am I missing?
Cincinnati biodiesel.
CBD, Cincinnati biodiesel. That was the on the bottom of the slide, the renewable fuels slide. That was the renewable fuels plant that we have and we own and operate. We also support that one through SAP. So in roughly, what would that be, 6 years? 5 years, 6 years? We've had a lot of activity, some divestitures, but mostly growth. Yes?
You mentioned your core values environmental safety, like the first core value was safety,
Correct.
ensuring safety across all the levels of the organization.
Mhm.
There was also one value somewhere in your slide about being responsible environmentally.
Yes.
How do you make sure that you're responsible?
From an environmental perspective? So it kind of goes back, safety and environmental stewardship kind of go back, they kind of go hand in hand, okay? So when you talk about our plants and how we operate them, there's a lot of byproduct, and just to set things clear, a lot of times when you drive by a refinery, you'll see a lot of white smoke. That is not anything bad, that's actually steam, okay? So a lot of people think that there's a lot of things going into the environment from what we're doing, and that's just not true, okay? So I want to set that one straight. That's primarily steam. We consume a lot of water through that process because we are refining that oil at extremely high temperatures, okay? But we have to self-report, if we do have a release of some type of a gas or something of that nature, or we have a spill, we self-report those things, okay? So when we come back and get audited, we can show that we self-reported, we didn't try to hide anything, and that's just one example.
Do you incorporate the concept of environmental safety, like identifying the materials as biohazard or different types of hazards in the safety too? Because there is some model in the safety that deals with.
So I think the question was along the lines of, from an environmental safety perspective, do we manage those items in SAP? Was that the question? So we do manage materials in SAP, but I'm not sure if we necessarily manage biohazardous materials necessarily. I mean, that's a specific group that manages that. There are some key elements to the process that we have to manage very closely. Good question. Yes?
I want to ask, how many employees in your company work in the ICP department, and how many people actually you need?
So the question was, how many do we have, and I think you mean supporting SAP, is that your question? So how many people do we have supporting SAP versus how many do we need? There's actually, and the individual had to leave, he had to go to class. One of the he asked the same question, you know, what does your group look like? So to put it into perspective, my team have roughly 11 employees plus some additional contractors supporting the plan to repair solution. That does not include supporting HR and procure to pay and budget to report processes. That's an even larger headcount. I'm going to guess probably around 40 to 50 individuals supporting SAP as a whole, if we look at the grand scale of things, plus contractors too, okay? What do we need? It's an ongoing issue, okay? So we're continuing to grow. The clients want more and more. So as we introduce more and more functionality, more and more bolt-ons, more and more anything into the environment, support goes up, right? So as we start to roll that out to 8,000 users, up to 8,000 users for plan to repair, we need more support to correlate. The individual I was speaking to within Marathon, to be completely transparent, we rotate jobs quite a bit. So as we, you know, Melissa may want to go do something else in 2 to 3 years. So we need to have that constant rotation of individuals who are prepared to take on support of SAP. We do that quite a bit. And I fully admit that I'm a product of that as well. So I've done a lot in my 8 years with the company. Does that help? Does that answer your question? Okay. Yes, sir.
Excuse me. So you don't use the H&S modules or PLM, I guess they call it.
Today we do not.
Do you use anything? Because I mean, obviously you're more process control. You don't have a bill of materials. You manufacture through process. So, do you tie in the process monitoring and that kind of stuff with SAP, or do you have like Q-Pro or something like that with interfaces? I'm wondering just kind of from the manufacturing process standpoint.
So if you talk, I think where you're going is, what do we use to actually run the refineries?
Yeah.
Is that where you're going with?
Yep.
So that's on a totally separate system. So when you think about the nature of the process and what the volatility of the process, that actually sets on a totally separate network. It doesn't have anything to do with SAP. It's completely segregated. Any other questions? Yes?
Could you compare a little bit your company with Valero?
Our company with Valero?
Yeah.
So we are competitors with Valero. So they're a downstream oil and gas company as well. You see their branded stations out there. So we are direct competitors with one another. And I know they are an SAP user as well. And what their landscape looks like, I'm not sure. But yeah, so to compare the companies, I guess I can't get into great details, but they are a direct competitor of ours, yes. Yes?
With the large emphasis on SAP, how's your training program for new hires and also people who are current employees transitioning and new SAP roles?
Oh, that's a fair question. And Melissa might be able to handle this too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I did have a background myself when I started doing some of these SAP projects 3 years ago. I had a background in some other ERP systems, JD Edwards, some systems like that. We came up with what we called like learning maps, and we mapped out what each person would need to take, like which types of classes you would need to take to support, say, functionally the plant maintenance module. And so we worked with SAP. We've gotten quite a few credits, and we've sent a lot of people to these training classes. And then we also did what we call the knowledge transfer. So Kevin mentioned the Frontier Project. That was a project of people, some Marathon and some consultants, who came in and built a solution. And then the support team who took over, we started getting involved sort of when they started testing. But we also got like training or knowledge transfer from that project team. So that's kind of how we've done it. We've had that. A lot of it is on the job learning. We still have a couple of very strong people left that are, consultants that are working with us. One or two, we're down to a couple. But
Yeah.
so, and they tend to have, 10, 12, 15 years of experience. So that, you can learn a lot from those people. So we try to leverage them, to kind of fill in our gaps as we go. We do have some enhancements we've done. We have lots of integrations. So, it's been helpful to keep a couple of those people over that were on the project. So they kind of went through the whole training of the system.
So in addition to that, I don't know if you're familiar with Solution Manager. Okay, so we have a lot of documentation in Solution Manager that's produced as part of projects. So we strive to keep that up to date as we enhance the system more. We make sure we keep those functional and technical specification documents, if you're familiar with those terms. We strive to keep those up to date. That way when new people cycle in and out, we can refer them to that, if they have questions. I know one thing I pushed my team to complete something we call config workbooks. Okay, so if you've gotten to the point in your class schedules where you've done the configuration aspect within SAP, you understand that it's essentially table entries, right? So that correlates very well to an Excel spreadsheet. So as you start to link things between the tables and configure, we've dropped those into Excel worksheets. And so in the case of plant maintenance or our portal environment, they all have their own unique, what we call config workbooks. That way it's almost here you go. Here's all the configuration activities that we've had to do to date. And they can have a reference point, right? So if they know they need to go configure a new plant, as an example, they can go look through and search on plant within that config workbook and identify exactly every table, config node that they know they're going to have to configure for a new plant. So it's, in my opinion, it's helped streamline that process for configuration activities. So we've taken some things on ourselves. We've leveraged SAP for other aspects of ongoing support and training of new individuals. Does that help?
Yeah, that's thank you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes.
You mentioned that there are a lot of mergers and acquisitions that are taking place with your organization.
Mhm.
Primarily acquisition because you want to grow.
Right. Yes.
Do you retain those IT employees in those other organizations that you have acquired? And if you retain them, how do you maintain that knowledge transfer across the new organization and your present process? How difficult or easy it is to?
Sure. No, it's a good point. A good question. I think it comes back to how we support things, to be completely honest with you. That even outside of just SAP, it's our general support model. So if something, to put it, I guess I'll just put it this way. So if an application is plant specific, there's a local IT group that supports that application for that plant only, okay? But if something is supported or if something is used across business units or across all 7 refineries that we have, then support of that application falls to my team. So we kind of have that agreement in place. We'll support things from a corporate perspective as long as it's being used across all of our plants or all of our business units. And my team's a little unique in that we support all of our operating units. But yet each operating unit's our terminal group, our pipeline group, our marine group. They all have their own individual IT supervisor, and they then have their own specific IT support team. We're kind of unique in the fact that we support all of those out of one application, if that makes sense. But back to your question of, what if we do have a merger or an acquisition, what happens to those IT employees? If it's a refinery, those folks will stay at the plant and they will continue to support those applications that are plant specific. Okay.
So earlier you talked about solution manager.
Yes.
So does Mardan have any third party to monitor all of your SAP systems apart from solution manager?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know we do use the BPM module within Solution Manager is kind of a bolt-on to Solution Manager, so we do monitor a lot of our servers through BPM, so we can see if they're pinging high or what's going on there. Not a basis guy. Like I said, I know enough to be dangerous. I know we're using BPM. Outside of that, I'm not sure what we're using.
Okay.
I mean, we do have some alerts set up within the system, right? Some conditional alerts that will go out to our basis team. We'll go out to general support teams as well, letting them know what's happening. Question? Okay, so we move on to the specific IT portion.
Moving on, okay, good questions. As Kevin said, my name is Melissa Zachridge, and I support, I work for Kevin, I support maintenance, material management, warehouse management, solution, Marathon. Some of the other areas within Marathon, I mean, we're in that second one, refining and transportation logistics, so we, support the refineries, terminals, as Kevin said, pretty much all the business units use our module, but there is corporate IT, so they support things like HR and FI and things like that. Technology infrastructure, so we have an infrastructure group, supply and marketing, technology and cybersecurity. So those are kind of the areas and the way the organization is structured. We have 400 plus full-time MPC employees in IT, so quite a few people. What do IT professionals do at Marathon? So Kevin alluded to some of the acquisitions we've had. All of those became very large IT projects. We just finished one, I just finished one where we implemented something that when we acquired the Galveston Bay Refinery, we also acquired Southeastern Green Power, it's called. So we acquired a power company. We just, February 1st, put them on SAP. They were on a product called Maximo, which is a similar maintenance project. So there are all kinds of projects. Some are very large, and we do have like a major projects group, and some are smaller, and they fall to us. So typically our group is working, we do production support, but we also do project work and things like that. Business analysts, we have business analysts that support the PM module, the MN module. There are business analysts throughout the company that support other applications. I would say quite a few business analyst opportunities. Development and integration. So, I mean, Marathon's policy is typically to try to find a product, buy versus develop, but we do have some in-house development. In some cases, there just isn't a product that, on the market that's going to serve, meet all the scope and requirements. So we do have some development infrastructure, IT auditing, and then people typically, like Kevin said, Marathon is pretty good about rotating people around if you want opportunities in other areas. I mean, we've had people leave IT and go into the business. We've had people come from the business into IT. So those opportunities are available too. For the co-op opportunities, they're year-round, and I think Kevin said we're recruiting for spring or for summer, but then next year we'll also have, groups of co-ops come in. He mentioned that we're in Findlay, Ohio. Has anyone ever been to Findlay, Ohio? Yeah, not you, Larry. Oh, have you? Okay. So.
Has anybody ever been to Ohio?
Yeah. Anywhere in Ohio? I would call it a mini city. It's not very big, but we're right downtown, expanding our campus. Our facility is expanding. We're building. We're kind of going to have a downtown campus, so it's an exciting time in Findlay. Kevin mentioned the remote offices, Canton. We've got Catlettsburg, Kentucky, Detroit, Michigan, Garyville, Robinson, Illinois, Texas City. Those are where our major refining organizations are at. Relocation allowance. So since you're up here in Michigan and you come down to be an intern, there is a relocation allowance that could be provided to you. Competitive intern pay. You can ask Rashad more about that. That's his area. Multiple sessions, meaningful work. The intern to mentor ratio is 1-to-1. I think that's kind of unheard of. I mean, I've not seen that in other organizations that I've worked in. So co-op pool is initially, it's a very, I don't know what the percentage is. You might know.
is between 70 to 75% for the co-op pool, the conversion rate to a full-time position.
Yeah. That's pretty high.
Yes. So we do, in IT, on a yearly basis, we do anywhere between 65 to 75 interns, and that's 3 sessions. From a company standpoint, on a yearly basis, we do about 500 intern slots throughout the entire company. Intern/co-op slots.
Vouch for that. I was an intern.
Kevin was an intern. Yeah. I've been there 3 years, so I was not an intern.
So I think quickly, I think one thing, you know, you asked about growth. The company's growing so much that we actually had to build another office building to support the number of employees that are in Finley now. So just thought I'd mention that. So
Yeah, it is very exciting. Do you have a question?
What do you mean by multiple sessions?
I think that's for the way that the multiple sessions per year
Yep.
for
So
the interns.
from a multiple session standpoint, it just basically means that means we want you to come in and have the opportunity to do different terms. So we judge our interns off of three different terms. Obviously, every school that we go to, the majority of people will look for the summer, but we bring in interns all year round. So through the fall semester, we have students that will be there from August, the middle of August, when school starts back in August, all the way up until the Friday before Christmas in December. It's a full-time 40-hour-a-week position, Monday through Friday. You get paid the same pay rate, and you have that much time to actually learn about the business. It's a little bit longer, but it's more realistic work opportunity for you. At the same time, we do this spring session now, so we have interns that are there now from about 10 different schools, 9 or 10 different schools represented. Closest one here would be University of Michigan Dearborn. We have a couple students from UM Dearborn, but they are there they started first Monday of January after New Year's, and then they'll be leaving the second Friday of May, so they'll be there for the entire session. So that's one session. So we have fall session, spring session, and then the summer session starts about the second Monday of May, and it goes until like the last or first Friday or second Friday of August. So that's the summer session. And that's the session that I can recruit online, just through applications, and I can fill the summer session completely. And then when we have top performers from the fall and for the spring, they are the individuals who are proven performers that will actually have like first dibs on the summer, as opposed to bringing somebody in that we don't know that's not proven to come in for the summer. So we try to get everybody in just to say, hey, you might want to think about fall or the spring session, so you can work your way into the summer. Because getting in through the summer is going to be very, very hard, and it's going to be very for the like top-notch elite out of the 13 schools that we recruit from, just because there are a limited number of positions.
But if good.
Oh, but if
Yeah,
yeah, it happens. No, so we have some summer 2016 positions available, and it does happen. But it's a very, very small percentage of that happening, just because we have so many interns and co-ops throughout the program now. So that's what we mean by multiple sessions.
You said that a lot better than I
I think we had a couple questions.
Okay,
All
more
3
questions.
hands actually.
So we talked a lot about the interns. So how about the full-time positions?
The full-time positions? From a recruiting standpoint,
Yes.
or? I'm going to turn that over to Sean.
Okay, so from a full-time perspective, we do have positions from a full-time perspective. It's very rare that we'll have individuals come in from a full-time entry-level position that did not intern or co-op with us. Okay, just because we have a number of positions that have already been filled. I told you 70% of the positions, between 70 and 75% of the conversion positions are going to come from interns. So theoretically, what you'll do is take 10 graduating seniors that are going to be graduating in May 2016. 7 of them are going to receive jobs from Marathon. They'll receive job offers from Marathon. And we usually tend to try to overhire to make sure that we forecast for any type of individuals that may leave, any individuals that unfortunately may be cut due to performance. and individuals that will retire, because we have a good number of our work pool is able to retire right now. So yes, I would say anywhere between like 35, almost 40%. If they wanted to stop and just say, hey, I'm not working tomorrow, they could. So that's the number one supplier. If we bring somebody in from the outside, one of the things that we always look for is, well, have you had an internship or a co-op experience with another company if you did not intern a co-op with us? So for individuals that say, hey, well, I just went to school 4 years, I really didn't do any type of internship or co-op, I just went ahead, I graduated on time in 4 years, I'm not even really looking at you, to be honest with you. You need some type of experience with maybe, I love looking to see if you've had another experience with the Fortune 500 company. That's great, because I know you know some type of corporate environment, or like a small IT shop where you had the opportunity to do everything from maybe an infrastructure standpoint to some development to some business analyst type work. But yes, so if you, it's a very small, minute chance for you to get in from a full-time entry-level standpoint, but I think it's well worth it if you go through the co-op program, just because you can't beat that. 70%, you can't beat that.
So, do you put, I mean, when you get to the point of graduation, you should be looking for a full-time job, but do you guys have graduates who have been through the co-op and intern?
Oh yeah, I made my full-time offers for people graduating May 2016. I made those in August of 2015.
Okay.
So like you know an entire, before your career fair takes place on your campus, whether it be the fall or the spring. So I still have some offers that I need to make. I'm actually talking to somebody at 9:15 tonight to extend them their offer. She's going to be graduating in May 2016. So we try to make sure that we show you the commitment since you've been in the program. Before you get back to campus in August and your career fair rolls around in either September or October, if you're graduating that coming year, we want to make you a commitment before you leave Marathon. So before you leave the doors, we're saying, hey, student from CMU, this is your offer from Marathon. We would like for you to accept that. We're giving you this amount of time, but we don't even want you to go to the career fair. We want you to be satisfied with us, because we have a whole lot of students that we could recruit from, just like you have a lot of companies that you can go and see. But you know, we're proposing to you that this spot is for you. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it hurts. Honestly, I've been burned before in the past. When you do that, some students still go to the career fair, and in the end, I'm the one left out looking for positions. Possibly that's how you get through the door, somebody that may not have interned with Marathon and come in the door that way. But we like to show the commitment as a company up front. I'm sorry.
And again, sorry if this has already been asked. Do you guys sponsor international students?
As of right now, we don't, but we are talking about it just because of the need for the technical positions that we have. So it's on the board as of right now. We're talking about that. That's a very heavy conversation, just because some of the mechanical, electrical, civil engineering positions that we have in the universities that we go to. So we're talking about that now. And something could be changed very soon in the future to the point where we do internships, but I don't know if it will be from a full-time perspective. So there is, yeah, we're looking
That
at.
was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
So if you don't sponsor, do you do internships?
That's what we're looking at. As far as the hiring is going to be something completely different, and that'll have to go through law and legal. But from an internship, getting the experience is going to be a little bit different. There may be some leeway on some of that, and that may be coming down. I would say the earliest it would be a 1 year from now. So yeah, that's still vetted out through conversations.
After the election. It depends on
Hey, I didn't say that. You did.
Does what you
I
got.
didn't. Hey.
And finally, a trend that we're seeing with a lot of folks coming on campus is that they will offer internships to people that haven't graduated. I know it sounds a little funky. Is that something you guys have thought about or considered? And I know it sounds wonky.
Yeah, no, so we have thought about it. We've thought about it in talent acquisition in the human resources group at Marathon. But we don't want to take away any opportunities from a student that's actually enrolled within a university. Okay? So our biggest thing is, if we were at one of the universities that you are coming from, then we feel as a company, all of the rest of these students that are currently enrolled, whether through freshman or senior year, they found us. Why couldn't the few that want to do internships?
Because I was just curious.
Okay.
And I get that question asked.
Gotcha. You got a question?
Yeah, you were mentioning specific start dates,
Mhm.
certain sessions,
Mhm.
and so, for example, the summer session coming up. Are you flexible on the start dates for, say, those of us who are taking the Turk 10 certification?
Yep. So we are flexible as a company. We actually have different start dates that you can start on when you do orientation with Marathon. We try to at least have 2 orientations per month as a company. With me being a tech campus recruiter, I like to have all of my interns start and end on the same day, same time. It makes it that much more easier for me. It makes it easier for the supervisors. It makes it easier for the mentors. So everybody, and it makes it easier for you. As you come in, you can build those relationships from the beginning. Just because you got to realize, we have about, what, 2,000 people on campus? It might be more than 2,000 people on campus. So I try to get everybody in on the same day and say, hey, I'm Johnny, I'm Susie, I'm such and such. Rashad recruited me, he recruited me too. I came through this way. I'm an IT major, I'm a computer science major, I'm a I'm an MIS major. So you can hit that bond and create those bonds from the beginning, because theoretically you may not see a person that that's in your IT group until we do some activities, which may not be the exact next day from when we do orientation. So I try to have everybody start at the same time so you can create those bonds that'll last throughout your entire time in Marathon.
So to add, I think there's also opportunities that come with our co-op program, one being at the end, in that you're able to present in front of the entire management team, including our CIO and the senior management leaders within the organizations. Okay, so if you cut your co-op term short, you may not have an opportunity to present in front of those individuals.
Yeah. So to answer your question, if you're taking the Turk 10, there is flexibility. It doesn't necessarily say, hey, you have to start on this day, this time with everybody else. I understand for the flexibility reasons, and if you are doing something, or maybe you need to get back to class early. I know I have students from the University of Cincinnati. They have a co-op that's required where they go overseas and do an internship or co-op, so they have to get back a little bit earlier before everybody else, cut their session in the summer with us short because they have to take a foreign language for the land that they're going to, or for the country that they're going to. I have individuals in the spring that are going to be leaving early just because they start summer school first week of May, so they'll end last week of April. So there is flexibility. It's not like a hard date that you have to stop and start.
With the internships, and I don't see housing up there.
Yep.
So you don't provide housing? Is my assumption it's not there.
Yep, so as a company, we do not provide housing for the Findlay corporate headquarters, but we do give you a housing list of about 60 to 70 properties on there, just locally within the Findlay area. So some of those properties are individuals who work with the company who, they know we have a robust intern co-op program, so they might have purchased a home, an extra home, and they get the value back in the home just by renting it out. So we give you those lists, and that list is pretty much updated. So every time you receive it, say we were to do an internship interview with somebody and you received an offer, as soon as we give you the offer, we give you the housing list so you can start working on your housing when you come to Marathon. And then we also give you a $3,000 relocation reimbursement as well. So you have to get down there once you start working for Marathon, just so we're not idiots and give you $3,000 beforehand and somebody making it rain with $3,000 beforehand. So then I get a phone call I'm not coming, and I gotta go tell my supervisor well, they got our $3,000, so I'll hunt them down if you know. So once you start working at Marathon, you sign a relocation document just to say, hey, this is where I'm living, this is my start date, my end date, this is my term lease time. Give that to me, we validate that, probably through SAP somehow, and then we give you $3,000 on your first check. Okay? So it's
through SAP.
Yeah. So it's $3,000, and oftentimes, it's not like Detroit or Chicago or Columbus or no big cities. So this $3,000 you can actually pay for your entire stay in this $3,000 check and still have money left over somehow. So, I mean, it amazes me because students will come back to me and say, hey, I only spent like $500, so do I have to give you this $2,500 back? I'm like, new TV? God bless you. so yeah, that's what happens. And then from an entry level standpoint as well, we relocate you, we move you. We do some good stuff there as well. But from an intern standpoint, $3,000 relocation reimbursement, and to get to Findlay, we give you a housing list. Now, if you were to go to one of the refineries like Garyville or Galveston Bay down in Texas, there are corporate housing facilities that they have down there, where they have made agreements with housing complexes or apartments down there where you can go ahead and stay. Now, you might be paired up with somebody like a chemical engineer from Georgia Tech in a house, but it's corporate housing, so you don't have to worry about finding a place.
So for the interns this summer, will it be in Findlay, or is it going to be a remote?
So for the summer, I got a couple of different positions that I'm recruiting for. So Galveston Bay refinery down there in Texas, in Texas City. So I consider those to be one. Garyville, Louisiana, which is about 30 minutes from New Orleans and about 20 minutes from Baton Rouge. Recruiting for there, and then the rest of the positions are for Findlay. Yeah, for the fall positions, the fall co-op positions, that's everywhere. Detroit, I got a couple positions in Detroit, Canton, and Robinson, Illinois. And then for the spring is pretty much wide open as well. That's anywhere that you may want to go as well.
Now, skill set might drive some of that. Right?
Yep. So skill set, So skill set will drive some of that. When you go to the refineries, at the refineries, we're looking more so for computer science majors, IT majors, because those are the positions where there's not a big IT shop. So like we said, we have roughly like 400 plus IT employees, full-time employees at Marathon. Well, those IT shops are a little bit smaller at the refineries, so they may have a support group of maybe, 8 to 12? Maybe.
Yeah, right.
So 8 to 12. So the people that are there, you need to be able to have all of the skill sets. So you need to be able to do some application development from that standpoint. You need to be able to know from an infrastructure standpoint, your hardware type of things. Your knowledge in IT, and you also have to be able to manage a client group as well, just because your business analyst skills are going to come out from there. So like if you're a pure BA and all you do is majority like BA stuff, then it's probably best that you just stay in Findlay so you can shine. And I really wouldn't put you in a position to fail. So we kind of vet that out through the interview process and through a series of conversations to see what your strengths are, just so we can put you in that position to say, hey, this is a great intern. I wouldn't go into it saying, hey, this person's in information systems, never coded a day in their life, does not know what a router, switcher, or server is. Let's put them in a refinery. and midway through, like, you do your midterm performance review, it's like, you need to get out of here, kid. So we wouldn't do that to you.
What about for SAP, your SAP group, where is that located?
It'd be located in Findlay. Okay. Now the catch is, and I'll be honest with you, we have, I've done it personally within my group, we have allowed co-ops to travel. So my team travels a lot, right? We support the plants, we support the business units that are out there, terminal, pipeline, marine groups, speedway. So we do allow co-ops to travel as well. I just had one, not this semester, but the previous semester. She was focused on mobility and usability tied to the mobility solution. That makes sense. Okay, so she was focused. She was traveling around to all of our plants with that core team, and she was a valuable asset to that team. So it was a great investment on our part. She did a great job. So
She's coming back.
Oh, I
Yeah. All right, any other questions before Melissa continues?
So SAP as a whole is primarily, I don't even want to say primarily, it is supported in Finland. It's a corporate application, so our corporate applications, for the most part, are supported out of Finland. There are certain corporate applications where we might have a database server at each site, just for maybe performance reasons, things of that nature, but it's still a corporate application. That makes sense.
Travels as well.
What's that?
And open to travel as well, so.
Yes.
Definitely, if you're with us and there's an opportunity, I'd like to get insurance. I took a whole van full of Robinson, and we were doing I was helping them with their project. It was a mobility geolocation project, and we just road tripped it over to the refinery. I think it's a great exposure for you guys to see, the people in the field, how they use the applications, things like that. Okay, any other questions either for Rashad or on the co-op opportunities before we go on to, there's only a couple more slides, I promise. So. Do you have the right skills? These are kind of some core competencies, I'm not going to read them all, but, we're looking for people who are business partner oriented, who are driven, who have good critical thinking skills to solve problems, communication skills, leadership skills. Each of your groups, you'll have a project group, and one of you will end up kind of leading the project group, and then you'll also do your internship with a specific group of people. So it's kind of like a two-part, I think that's just it. And then the final presentation are individual presentations and your project presentation. So flexibility, diversity. I like the last one, fearless about asking questions, because the last group of interns that I mentored for their project, that was the first thing that struck me was like, gosh, they have really big questions. I mean, they really dug in. We had to do some phone calls and try to find out with some different vendors, and they just had great questions. So, and here is the recruiting at Central Michigan University team. The website is there too. I think Rashad. Well, there is like some information out there if accepted.
Yeah.
But, go ahead.
Okay, all right. So if you take a look on the table out there when you go outside, there are what we call job grams. They look like cue cards, pretty much red and blue cue cards. Join NPC is the actual website that you want to go to if you want to go directly to the jobs. If you want to see Marathon's website in general, overall, you can go to marathonpetroleum.com. Okay? So if you want to know information about Marathon, definitely go to marathonpetroleum.com. If you want to go just directly to the job site, you can take one of the cards out there and you can go to joinnpc.com.
So I guess.
Two more points.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, so I've got 2 more points. So going back to the last bullet that Melissa touched on, the fearless of asking questions. And I think that goes back to our culture within the company. Obviously, we kind of approach everything with a team mentality. I know my team especially will field any questions, right? Their plates are full. Melissa will attest to that. I mean, they're overwhelming. There's not enough hours in the day. But when it comes to an intern asking questions, we'll stop whatever they're doing, answer, sit down with them, show them exactly what needs to be done, coach them, mentor them. We truly do, in my opinion, have a great co-op program for that reason especially.
Yeah.
The other item I want to mention on co-op travel, so there are certain organizations, maybe on the corporate side, that all of those functions happen in Finland, right? Procurement processes, AP, the financials. So they may not get to travel, okay? My group's unique in that way. But we do offer, and typically we will go to an operating unit as part of the co-op experience. So I get the opportunity at the end of March to bring the spring co-op group down to our Catlettsburg refinery, close to West Virginia, and then stay. I'll get a room for you. And we're staying overnight as well, and then on the way back, we're going to hit our marine facility, very close to that plant. So you get to see a refinery, take a driving tour, get to see the guts of the refinery, and then at the same time, on our way back up to Findlay, see the marine operations and get to see the vessels and things of that nature and how they fix those and all that fun stuff that comes with it. So it's a good opportunity.
Yes. Any other questions? Yes?
I went to a thing today with Price Waterhouse and they said that over the next 8 years, 75% of the workforce in the United States was going to be millennials, which I think is horrifying. But, sorry guys. Why? Because what are they going to do with us, right?
The board of.
Maybe.
They'll do the whole Disney thing with us.
Yeah, it's a changing world, right?
Yes.
In most IT shops that I've been in over the years, are like all guys. What does the mix of male and female look like inside a marathon? And is there any specific initiative to try to bring more women into the workplace?
Yes, so you're looking at it. No, no, but so overall, the mix of just like any other company that has reported these numbers, we are still trying to make sure that we have an equal balance, and that's something that we want to fix because we want our employee in our company to show a diverse skill set, diversity in employees, backgrounds, ethnicities, genders, just like our customers, and just how the real world is portrayed. So it's not where we would like to be, but I can tell you, so a number of things have taken place. So we have for the women that we recruit in, and our efforts have tremendously increased as far as attending SWE conferences, Grace Hopper conferences, TriWIC, which is the Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana female computing conference, ACMW computing conference. In Ohio, we have the Ohio Women in Celebration Computing Conference, which is called OPWIC. Working with ACMW, working with women in technology, working with black girls in technology, and a number of different other organizations in which we recruit from that are geared toward minorities or gender-specific groups. Okay, so that's where we have increased our focus to the point where we become diamond members or platinum sponsors or just those type of things, and make sure that we put these items or our programs from a recruitment standpoint in the forefront. But one of the programs that I developed while just thinking about this and kind of going through this, I have a daughter myself. She's very technical. She probably will be in IT somewhat. She can't be named. Not to say that any of you are anal.
We definitely.
But yeah, she likes commands already, and I'm not talking about me giving them to her. So that made me think a lot about this, and one of the programs that we developed, what we do now for every young lady that we have come into the program, they have the opportunity to have a Women in IT lunch where they go out with all of the female managers within the IT organization. So every female co-op that we have is an intimate, private setting. They'll go out. We also do high schoolers that are interested in IT. We bring them in, so it's a combination of stories that are taking place from this is how I got to my portion of my career, this part of my career from a managerial standpoint to I'm venturing and exploring this world as a female for the first time. Oftentimes I'm the only one in class, or it's 400 guys and it's only 6 of us. And then from a high school standpoint, as far as providing those interns and co-ops that we have the opportunity to mentor any high schoolers that are thinking about coming along this way. And oftentimes, they are the only ones, especially in high school, they are the only ones in class too. So it's kind of a training that we're doing, and we're starting to see results, a lot of different results, to the point where the interest is drumming up. And over the past 5-10 years ago, that question never came up in interviews. We're starting to see it come up in interviews, and we have focus groups, and I'll sit down with all of the female co-ops and interns at the end of their session and ask, okay, so at the end of this session, during this session, what could we have done to improve it? How did you feel? Were you comfortable? Did we place you in the correct group? We're always conscious about those things. So that's some of the efforts that we are doing.
I can say for my personal experience, I've sadly been at this for 30 years. Not sadly, because it's been a great career. The first couple of Microsoft conferences I can remember going to as a developer, I would be in a room this size and I would be like, there's no women, you know? And I think it's partially because not that many women are going to IT, which totally bums me out. Because I think it's a fantastic career, you know, for a man or a woman. But so it does make it harder because, you know, my son graduated from Penn State a few years ago. He graduated with a programming degree. And that's what I noticed at the graduation. I was kind of disappointed that when he walked up with his group, you know, it was probably 8 to 9 guys to 1 girl. And so you just don't see that many women flocking to IT. But hopefully that's changing. You know, hopefully.
And I think we see it on our end. We got, over the last 3 or 4 years, we got a lot more girls, females, in the program. Many more. In some of my classes, I have 25, 30% female, which is great. And we're doing outreach. We had Walmart last week step up. And we're doing an ERP SIM event.
I thought it passed. Has it passed already?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And it's special for Walmart is sponsoring it through like a Girls in STEM.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of ponying up the funds to bring in like 70 high school students from the local area.
Mm-hmm.
And they're already stepping up to try to get us to go into Detroit and to some of these areas and kind of do a roadshow with it. Specifically, and it's boys and girls, but specifically for girls in STEM to try to grow the program. And it's interesting. And I'm a little on the girl side of things today, guys, because of the PwC Spire conference I went to today. But I have 2 daughters, and my daughter works at General Motors in the IS department.
Yeah.
So, and you walk down through there, it's all packed.
Mm-hmm.
So it means a lot. And that's why I kind of ask all of them, because I don't grill them like this, because I'm like,
Yeah.
But it's good to know that we, as a group, kind of look around and go, man, you know, there's half the population that we're leaving out of the equation, and girls are smarter than us. So, and as I look around the room too, where's all the girls at? You know? So. Anyway.
Yeah, no, so I definitely, I understand what you're saying, but so we're taking the efforts to actually do that with females in IT as well as minorities as well. So we work with a number of different organizations, the National Society of Black Engineers, Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers, and American Indian Society of Engineering and Scientists, which is ACES. And all of the rest of the organizations, we help sponsor conferences. We are in the area talking to those students doing the same thing. Toledo Technology Academy is one place that we are speaking to where they produce engineering students within the Northwest Ohio area, which is right in our backyard. IT Flyers out of Findlay High School, which is our local high school right here in the city. They have a computing group that comes and they conduct meetings at Marathon. So there are a number of things that we are doing is finding and providing those opportunities to the students. So that's the biggest challenge. You know, we can only have so many spots. We can only have so many number of students come in. Any other questions? Anything else? All right, by show of hands, who has a resume? Who would like to interview tomorrow? All right, let's get started. So if you have a resume, you can talk to either one of us within the room. Just make sure I'm sorry, did you have any closing remarks, Chris?
Oh, no, just a round of applause for Marathon Petroleum.